What's up, everybody? Been a while since I made a video about this kind of crap. Took some notes this time. For whatever reason, when I'm recording, I have a hard time keeping it. I can't even talk right now. Train of thought. So I took some notes, and we'll just go off of that. But it's basically about ESG. I've been talking about different facets of it for handful of years, posting just little nuggets here and there and about different aspects of it. Those of you that don't know what ESG is, it's economic, social, corporate governance. At least that's what I've come to understand based off of other individuals that have been following this for quite some time. It's been said that it is three major groups or companies: BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Most people in society identify them as either teals. I call them orange peels, ass lickers, and teals, but other people got whatever other names or whatever they would labels they would put on them, but that's what I call them. Essentially, it's major redefining of the social needle with these companies. Things they can't get done at the ballot box, they go through the back door of politics, the corporate proxy ballot, and really, like I said, redefine the social needle and the demographic compass of societies, not just here in the US, but with their other sister companies globally as well. They also help to leverage policies in DC via their lobbyists, and it really changes a lot of things, all the way from the corporate board at various companies all the way down to the supply chain. Been told that basically what they do is, and things I've seen too as well. I mean, there's several examples. If you look at various companies, I'm not going to go and throw out there right now, but I could show you some examples where they get involved with things they shouldn't be getting involved with as far as policy or activist groups that really help add pressure and leverage policy in DC through activist groups and their other nonprofits and organizations that they affiliate themselves with. But essentially it's really just making rules and regulations that most people have to adhere to, all the way from the corporate board all the way down through the supply chain, and we obtain products and services from these companies or even work for them, and that really kind of shifts the social needle in major ways. In most ways we disagree with, and oftentimes a huge way they do this is taking shareholder value and allocating it upstream to, or taking shareholder value and investing it in values of other people, not actual value. Like, for instance, I guess you could use like taking someone's IRA or Roth retirement or pension plan, basically give that to a fund manager, and the fund manager allocates it upstream to like a BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard, and then they move the money around however they will and invest it in actual values of other people rather than actual value. And they can do pretty much whatever they want with basically come to understand about $20 trillion of liquid that they can just whale around any way they want. And it's a lot of power and leverage that they can basically just make a lot of big things happen if they want to, and they do. And oftentimes it follows the political agenda for whatever their mixed motivated intention is, and oftentimes it follows the political agenda. Like I said, they use lobbyists in DC, and under the Trump administration, they actually, through the Labor Department, I was told they tried to do this and were stopped because it was illegal. A couple of the guys said, no, you can't do this, it's illegal. And then obviously the Biden administration tried doing it as well through the Supreme Court with affirmative action, basically implementing extreme bean counting measures for companies, basically making their workforce, and I think mainly the target was the board, basically taking guys that have been out Bannon companies based totally off merit. The guy could be there for like 20 years, worked his way to the top, got the job, he's there, and then all of a sudden, hey, sorry, Fred, you gotta go. We need a boy, girl, black, white, gay, not gay, sort of mixed equality, I guess you could say, sort of board here. And essentially that's what they do. It's just a victimhood game, and they take out guys that have been there running the company. They don't even need to acquire the company. They don't need to run them out of business. They don't need to go bankrupt. They can just enforce these rules and regulations and basically slide in, from what I've come to understand, is basically puppets that are basically Gestapo trained, like individuals from like law firms. I guess one that was mentioned was Loretta Lynch's law firm, and that basically they're kind of trained up to kind of handle things how BlackRock and State Street like to handle things, and they will fully be compliant with whatever they want rather than what's in the best interest of the company. Fucking fly, excuse me, motherfucker. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. I can go into a lot of deeper detail. For whatever reason, I'm on camera, I just have a hard time putting these thoughts into words, but nonetheless, so basically, problem with ESG, what would be a major problem, obviously, aside from corporate capture, just having corporations dictating or actually having a strong manipulation in how society is cultured, and obviously with the lobbyists and policy crafting. So one major problem with this is redefining what a human being is, and also the translation, how that translates to human rights. One note I got here: massive pressure has been added to policymakers through LGBT, BLM, as well as other activists and corporate agendas, along with groups, UN-backed affiliates. I could give some examples of this as far as what companies, but I really don't like to necessarily throw companies so much under the bus, because I feel like, if they could just change the trajectory of what they're doing and get back to our traditional American values, that would be in their best interest, rather than, throwing them under the bus and just totally shaming the shit out of them for doing some fucked up shit. If they could just, redefine their corporate culture, I think that would be best for them and as well as the American people. And if you poll their customer base and their fan base for a lot of these companies, we are definitely not, we do not find any value in these extreme measures that have been taken that are just contrary to the principles that this country was founded on and that we hold dear to ourselves and valuable, that we would espouse ourselves to, to lean into. One thing with this was, if you look at, when I'm talking about redefining what a human being is, obviously you've seen that with, the LGBT movement, where now people are no longer just boy or girl with the sex. They're identified as male, female, or binary, and that in itself is just an added leverage point to basically what a human being is. When you redefine what a human being is, you can really add leverage and argument for other things as far as what is applicable to human rights, in my opinion. And basically one example of this, which is an extreme example, it's called a document called Exclaim, published by UNESCO and International Planned Parenthood Federation. And essentially what I've come to learn from it, and I've read the document myself, you can Google it and you can find it on there, it essentially is advocating for sexual pleasure to be enshrined as a human right for human beings of all ages. And that is really alarming, I think, to most people. And is once you kind of get into those kind of arenas, it opens doorways for, it also actually has mentioned basically enshrining sexual pleasure is a human right for human beings of all ages, as well as there was some mention of government leaders and representatives to make sexual services available. And when you go to interpret that, it's like, well, what does that mean? That kind of sounds like human trafficking. Or what do you mean sexual services? And then removing the statutory limit, making sexual pleasure a human right for human beings of all ages. I mean, that really just kind of shatters some major rules and laws that we have regarding this. And it's the way I just said it is really odd. Doesn't seem to connect as well as I normally put things together. I guess I should have probably just wrote it down and read it like that. But anyways, it's not hard to put two and two together when you look at it and look at the flow of way things have been going as far as other policies and issues, especially if you look back at COVID and, you know, seeing how far we can push a person to basically adopt things that are contrary to our values and our Constitution. Fucking flies everywhere. Sorry. So, yeah, basically, the other note says the aim was to legitimize sexual pleasures, human right for peoples of all ages, removing statutory limitation of age. Also makes mention of receiving sexual services. What does this mean? Okay, I'll skip that. I just covered that. So, also redefining what a human being is. You know, a huge issue with this is, especially when you get into, you know, boy, girl, binary, when you redefine what a human being is, and also the rights that, you know, encompass what a human being is, especially statute of limitation when it comes to sexual pleasure or even receiving sexual services, it adds argument and leverage for arguments maybe like genetic modification or robotic implementations or chips or Neuralinks and things of that nature. And then you kind of seen what happened with COVID. Once, you know, you kind of move those obstacles out of the way, then you can kind of move into other things. I know it sounds extreme, but I mean, nobody ever thought, you know, that you would ever shut down our churches. You know, no one ever thought you would shut down our schools. Our courthouses would be shut down. But I mean, through executive order warp speed, we all seen that happen. That gave them the legal power and protection to do it. I mean, they shit all over our constitutional rights, thanks to Donald Trump. And, you know, the left was complicit with it for quite a while too. So, I mean, they're not exactly saints, but, you know, I mean, under, you know, the Biden administration, we did come back out of that hole, and the economy seems to be getting back on track. Inflation is going down, so I'm not going to go and bash them. I feel like we're definitely better off with Kamala Harris, but, you know, everyone's got their own opinion on that. So, you know, I'm personally going to vote for Harris. I would never vote for a liar like Trump. You know, originally I was going to go with Kennedy, but he fucking turncoat on us and just bailed on all of us. So, you know what, fuck it, whatever. I'm going Kamala. But anyways, so a lot of dangers with, you know, I mean, you go into like microchips. I mean, this day and age, there's a lot of different manipulations that can happen, all the way, which I'll get into. I'll scrape back over with neurological manipulations from various forms. But the major problem with chips is, you know, I mean, if you can make a paralyzed person walk, I mean, with Elon Musk claims that, I mean, I seen a post, I don't know if he actually said this or someone else said it, but he basically said that it would give you superpowers or some crazy shit like that. So if a chip can give you superpowers, or if it can make a paralyzed person walk, imagine what that can do with someone that can already walk. I mean, you basically have, like, you know, full control of their autonomy, like just complete and total control. I mean, you have like a remote control human. It's insane, and I think it's a really dangerous thing for all of us. And you know, I guess the next thing I was going to go into, things without chips right now. I mean, there's already many things that can be done with tech these days that can inorganically stimulate thoughts, emotions, smells, feelings, things with your nervous system, various different things. I mean, the manipulations to your biomechanics, to your thought processes, how you send and receive information. I wrote down a few here. Is basically emotion, smell, order of operation, memory, sight, bodily orientation, and your nervous system. And order of operation, I basically kind of just said all that. So I mean, I have some clear examples of this. I have recorded examples of this. Just kind of essentially like people just being puppets or NPCs, really. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that right now, but I do have some footage and various other things that substitute many of the claims I've made in this video. Is even going back to ESG as far as my transaction record, which is kind of saving as an insurance policy. But I'm definitely going to submit what I just mentioned right there with, you know, things, manipulations to people's biomechanics, and you know, it's typically used to enforce censorship or to harass an individual that is not in compliance with censorship, that doesn't embrace, you know, censorship essentially, and that just more so believes sternly in freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and things of that nature, and just doesn't give a shit about, you know, putting a hand on everybody else's mouth just to, you know, appease some shadowy fucking analyst that doesn't even have clearance, couldn't pass psychological evaluation to their fucking life. But I mean, these people are really messed up. They do messed up shit, not just manipulations to your biomechanics or your thought processes or, you know, things of that nature. Not to create a scapegoat or anything like that, because obviously this is real. I mean, you definitely can stimulate someone's mind to think a certain thing or to smell a certain thing or to feel a certain way. And obviously their biomechanics to do certain things that maybe they would not ordinarily do without the stimulus. But, you know, that is an element that we need to be aware of. But nonetheless, I mean, you got to be careful, you know, to really be able to analyze thoroughly for those that actually are ethical analysts, to understand the difference between organic and inorganic stimulus, because there's a lot of fucking scumbags out there too that would rather be like, oh well, look at me, it's happening to me, I'm being stimulated, I didn't think that, I didn't do that, I'm being persecuted fucking now, you know. And so that's the flip side to it. So you know, it's a sticky situation. I would hate to have to adjudicate some of these matters personally, but it is what it is, and it's better to have all cards on the table than to just be constricted to whatever paradigm whoever wants to, whatever picture whatever person's capable of painting, essentially. So I mean, you put all the facts on the table, you have a better ability to analyze the diagnosis situation and move ahead effectively. But so why is this a huge problem? I mean, obviously your mind can run wild with a million ways why this could be a problem, but what I've written down is the danger to liberal democracy. Authoritarian rule of law cannot win. Draconian like neoconservatives cannot. Or draconian like I can't even fucking talk right. Neocon's bad. Essentially, we can't deal with these authoritarian, draconian like neocons. They're just fucking horrible. You know, it's just bad, and they use a lot of cheap help, uncleared shadow analysts perpetrating as authority figures. I mean, literally hiring people from the community to play creeping Tom on you. I mean, these guys, most of them couldn't pass the psych eval to save their fucking life, and they're sitting here fucking frying your balls off and shit. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Sexual assault on a regular basis, assault, extortion, criminal property damage. I mean, these guys are way out of fucking control. And they do all kinds of other shit. Like, I some of the shit I don't even want to mention in this video just because it sounds so insane. But, I mean, definitely if I was questioned or someone were to want to interview me on it, like an actual authority figure were to question me on some of this shit, then I would be like, yeah, as long as it wasn't a form of entrapment, and I would definitely be open to answer a lot of questions and give my statements on the topics and the situations. But nonetheless, dangers of this. So, you know, these other, what do I got here? I got delegating thought and enforcing censorship. So yeah, that's basically what they do with these little bullshit makeshift rent-a-cop shadow analysts. And I mean, they got guys running down the highways, these little wannabe adopt a highway fucking troll fucking analysts that think they're fucking something. They're just jokes. Fucking don't have clearance, don't fucking just, you know, exploiting your privacy, just total fucking weirdo creeps that think they're fucking can do whatever they want. They're out of their fucking minds. Anyways, so one way to enforce censorship and basically compliance is crowd control tech, or EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. I've had a lot of experience with this. I mean, you can see right here, I have a burn mark. I mean, I got them all over my body. I could show you, like, they're really hard to see, but I mean, my abs are like so fucking lit up. Like, they got pissed. Like, I don't know, they just don't like, you know, I don't know, they're just fat fucking losers, and they don't like dudes that are fucking ripped and shit. So I got jealous and fucking made like I have a rash all over myself. But I literally got permanent burns all over my fucking body from these assholes, and just them burning me. I mean, they burn my penis, my anus, fucking my balls, like all the fucking time. They're fucking assholes. Just for whatever reason they want to gas me up, fucking to get me to make like I'm fishing or hunting, and they make like they're, you know, just to piss me off and get me to fucking just be a fucking dick, basically. But I'm not going to go into all of that. But they do that shit, and they've done it even to my little boy, you know, my son, you know, like even the very first time was actually back in 2017, going down 28th Street eastbound lane, making a left-hand turn north onto the Beltline in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You hear him crying, "Oh, Dad, my being." They're sitting there frying his fucking dick in front of fucking everybody on the highway like it's nobody's fucking business. And that was just the first time. There's many other things they've done to me and him. I mean, fucking sent him home with a pocket full of broken glass, a black eye, busted lip, all on separate occasions, and just done all kinds of fucked up shit to me and other members of my family as well, just for, you know, just trying to live my life separate from basically one of their mental prison gangs. Essentially, it's kind of like a mental prison gang. You join up, or you're gonna fucking get it. You know, it's insanity. It's extortion, blackmail. It's fucking everything. Criminal property damage, assault, sexual assault. You name it, they fucking do it. So, you know, even like losing jobs and things like that, or just vilification, defamation of character, libel. I mean, it's even. I mean, I got literally fucking. I'm pretty sure some fucking murders on my dash cam, attempted murder, like some serious fucked up shit that I'm gonna be submitting to intelligence agency soon, and I'll just hand it over to them. I'm just kind of consolidating right now, but I figured I should make this video so you know, it's just a preemptive thing, because I've noticed a lot of angles of entrapment and things of that nature, and trying to implicate me with some of this shit, and with these little virtual jerk-offs like, yeah, you're the man, trying to make like I'm with them and shit, and I've never fucking been with these motherfuckers ever. So I'm just straight up out the gate, never have been since day fucking one. Not gonna go into the details of that, but I'm definitely open to that, if necessary. But so yeah, that's kind of what that is. You know, I mean, basically, there's always kind of been these issues since, I would say, when I first noticed them, like really odd things. I would see what, you know, with, I guess you could say, with Masons and individuals like that, probably since 2012. I never really had serious issues that I really noticed on a regular basis, at least aggressively, and attacks on my body or my son's body, until like 2017. When I would assume after Trump opened up all those portals, that's when shit really got ugly and stupid and very aggressive and just non-stop 24/7 all the fucking time. But just leave that at that. So anyways, it's been a real ugly past handful of years, but I've learned to swim and deal with these assholes and make lemonade. So I mean, this not exactly like I'm fucking sheep for slaughter here either, so I'm not stupid, and I know how to handle these fucking pussies. So anyway, some solutions. I don't really like talking about all these problems. Oh no, what can we do? We're so fucking helpless. You're not helpless. There's fucking things you can do. We have laws. We have Constitution. There are still some really great people in this country that will do their fucking job if they know how, and you give them accurate information and they have the ability to do it. I feel confident that this country is not going to fucking be taken over by some corporate monarchy, and we can fix this. I know we can. And the kind of tech and personnel we have these days, we got some of the best fucking people on the planet. There's no reason for us to just allow these fuckers to do this. It's insane. So, solutions. So, one solution, and I've heard others mention this as well, but reverse or dismantle Citizens United. Allocation of corporate funding to companies and super PACs in every state. So basically just taking the liquid away from them, dry up the fucking well. One thing with Kamala I think is essential with that huge, it's not fair. I don't think this is fair at all with the 44% taxes that she's going to enforce on these guys. But what they did to us when Trump was in was not fair either. 80% of every dollar he spent went to the top 1%, and they only paid 8% in taxes, while the rest of us paid 28%. It's more than triple what they paid. So, no, it's not fair, but this, I feel like, could potentially rebalance and bring some of that money back down to the middle class and help us, rebuild, especially with her, tax cut for 1099 startups. It's a $50,000 tax cut and then a $25,000 credit for first-time home buyers. That's $75,000, that you can really put to use and just jump into a house and start a business and really increase GDP and become a new product or service, or add to an existing market. So it's definitely makes much more economic sense going with Harris and things like that, and really just trying to get rid of, and there's other politicians all over the place on the left and the right. I'm not saying that you got to go left now or you got to go this or that. We need to just wake up and have common sense here. There's good and bad people on both sides of the aisle, and people need to ditch this fucking ridiculous bullshit that Trump dragged everyone into. Oh, we gotta fucking kill them, they're ending the country, this and that, blah. Ditch that fucking stupid shit. It's just making more problems. It's stupid, and anyone that buys into it is a fucking moron, and you're a volatile shithead. You just shut the fuck up, or I don't know, take a chill pill, do something, go smoke a doobie, fucking waste your life somewhere else. Stop dragging other people with you. But anyway, so dismantle or reverse Citizens United and restrict mixed motivated investing, particularly for ESG purposes. That is another great solution that could really halt a lot of this in its tracks, with added emphasis and strict enforcement, which is really necessary, to really add a lot of pressure on mixed motivated investing, and just have the FEC or whoever, some sort of, if we need to make a new agency that this monitors this particularly, and that would not be compromised, and that we could either, I don't know how you would do it, either like some sort of, there's filters you could do. You could use something kind of like the marshals, and just use like mock trials for or scenarios that they would adjudicate, and not necessarily take out the filter specifics with companies' names, this and that, potentially through other services. That's just an idea. I'm just spitballing here, but so that way you don't have to worry about compromised individuals, playing ball with one group or another, and just kind of shift the burden around a little bit, and so there isn't just one person all the time, and they just make sure it's handled ethically, and just have them, some of the cases not real, some of the cases real, and just have them adjudicate between there, or investigate essentially, and add their diagnosis, and then pass it off to the diagnosis and reports to other individuals, but give the case to some sort of agency that's potentially kind of like IA but marshals. I don't know if that makes sense, but something kind of like, we need to start thinking outside of the box and stop doing things the way we have been. We got to throw a serious monkey wrench in this, but we cannot allow individuals to be compromised, paid for, bought, harassed, or threatened. So that could potentially be an element of safeguard to handling situations like that. And another thing is, communications modifications, with all major cell internet providers revoking access to rogue analysts. Basically, what I've come to understand, I've heard others mention this, that Trump had opened some portals for individuals to enforce censorship. I know there was a lot of people early on in his presidency. There was licensed psychologists, many long-time licensed psychologists that were basically stating information on him through interviews, social media, and other things, just basically saying he's psychologically unfit. I mean, there's many people that could agree with you that say he's a sadist. If you reference his Twitter posts and tweets, just constant smearing and attacking and degrading of other people, just thousands and thousands of tweets. I mean, he tweets more than a little girl. He'll out-tweet me in a month than I have in my entire Twitter career. And I haven't even I had a Twitter account. I mean, I've had a Twitter account longer than he has, I'm pretty damn sure. And he out-tweets me in a fucking month in my entire career. So, I mean, clear sadist, narcissist. There's many examples of his narcissism, just not able to really work with Democrats. I mean, he can't even work with people in his own administration that's kissing his ass and jerking him off. I've seen many examples of this, heard many stories, watched many videos, many ads, and just looked at how the way policy has turned out. I mean, and then let alone, with hostile foreign leaders, his approach to that is, August 2nd, 2019, withdrew from the INF Treaty. We had with the Russians, it's the Cuban Missile Crisis. That is a major problem for the stability and security for our nation as well as others. First one to fund the Ukrainians with offensive weaponry, $350 million arms package from Raytheon to Ukraine, and that really just kind of upped the ante from there. I mean, they were already fighting each other since 2014, and just basically shooting at each other back and forth. But I mean, the second you get a javelin coming at you, there's no hiding behind a building or anything or shooting back from that building. The javelin's hitting at the building's coming down your dust. So, that was a major problem. There's many, many issues. It just goes to show you, a narcissist, sadist, and a sociopath just really doesn't care. He doesn't have empathy for other individuals. He attacks and does these things. He doesn't take into consideration other people's rights, and just only thinks about himself and his own personal agenda. And not saying he does this all himself, because if you ask me, he's a puppet to a bunch of ass lickers, and he'll do whatever they say. They tell him jump, he'll jump. They tell him get on your hands and knees, crawl and kiss my feet, he'll do it. All they got to do is shame him or pressure him or do whatever the hell they got to do, and he's going to be Santa Claus for him. So, the dude doesn't have a backbone. He's a compulsive liar. And if you ask me, this country was not founded by liars. It should not be ruled by a liar. So, enough of that. Fucking, you got it. I don't like Trump. Got many reasons. It could go on and on and on and on. I'm not going to do it. Anyway. So, basically, communications, what do I mean by modifications? There's different things. Our cell phones and towers, and even our remote controls, our remote control cars, and, all kinds of different things that have different frequencies, radios, cell phones. We need modifications to be done to these towers and revoke access to rogue analysts. I know there's ways to do it. I don't know exactly how to do it. I'm not some communication or tech expert, but I know there are ways that can be done. And then the next thing would be low latency. You would have to, discuss these sorts of issues with everyone that owns satellites, essentially. And, there would have to be rules and regulations passed internationally, not just with our own local government and Federal Communications Association, whatever the hell you call them, but also agreements, that would to really delegate through these issues, and to respect each other's security and things of that nature. I don't know the best way of doing this. Could definitely be through, I wrote down here, system of checks and balances, UN charters and agreements, through international trade agreements and operating authorities. So, there's a lot of different ways you can make that work. I think that's necessary. I'm not sure on how wide of a scale that could be as far as low latency, but I know it is an issue and can be an issue. How drastic of an issue compared to regular towers and other forms of communication and abilities to basically implement various forms of manipulation to the environment, individuals, and property. I'm not a tech on that, but I do know the primary source of where these issues most likely are coming from. But the problem is, when you get shitbirds in there, they're essentially like fucking terrorists, and they do whatever they want, and they go unchecked, and we can't have that. And it really undermines all of our constitutional rights, our human rights, our civil rights, just basically all our fucking rights. And these guys think they can do whatever they want, and when they have unlimited power, it's really hard to conduct a civil society when you got these overpowered individuals that just can go completely unchecked for the most part. So one thing that could really handle this, I mentioned about making tags would, for anonymity, for people that already have clearance. So you wouldn't have to necessarily have to reveal yourself, because that means obviously in certain intelligence agencies anonymity is key. You cannot go and burn yourself or have certain information revealed, and you need to have basically your anonymity, but you still need to have access to these lines. And a thing I'd come up with was basically some tags that you could use, and as long as you're in compliance with your conduct and regulations, is in compliance with how things should be handled. Obviously certain individuals should be dealt with on a tier-to-tier basis, like a terrorist. You could say Schedule 1 mark, civilian Schedule 5. So obviously you would use non-lethal or lethal force against a terrorist if necessary, but let's say Schedule 5, civilian, that's completely unnecessary, obviously unless you had just cause. And there's various things in it. These things need to be talked about with judges, lawyers, and there needs to be rules and regulations implemented on how we're going to handle these things. And obviously, your tag would be revoked, or your access to that line of communication would be revoked if you're out of compliance. And obviously it would be dealt with a case-by-case basis. You would keep your anonymity, or you'd be brought in. The way I would see it, obviously you'd be given written questions on how to address certain matters you could possibly be investigated or flagged for your tag, and they would be forwarded to that tag, and then you address in written, and if it is necessary more, then you basically answer by other means. I'm not going to go into obviously it'd be very different, but you could be discussed on various forms on how to handle that to move forward if you're out of compliance, or either ultimately termination of the tag and revocation of access would be another option, or the final option, along with obviously prosecution and things of that nature. So yeah, that was basically it. Checks and balances. There was another thing that I had wanted to go into. I didn't really write it down, I don't think. So basically right now, we use a system that's basically, essentially, I guess kind of like, most people like to consider it behavioral modification. I don't see it as that. I just see it as a form of control, trying to dictate people and craft policy through ESG and just redefine the way the world works. And it's very easy to just fist and boot everything to death. But based off my experience and my own analysis that I've noticed with my own personal life and my son, that opposed to basically draconian like consequence systems, like doing things or doing things outside of the scope norm of how they would have people conduct themselves in society today, I feel like it would be much more beneficial if individuals were given the opportunity for a reward-based system versus a consequence-based system. So, like say if you, I'm not going to go into it because I have an app that I would like to develop for this that only uses basically people that have clearance and that can actually pass a psych eval, as well as licensed psychologists, along with AI. And obviously the reward-based system wouldn't be like some fucking charity. Everyone can make a lot of money. I mean, it would be diversified contracts through fintech, for products, services, and other contracts and things of that nature. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. You can make money move faster than money can make it move with this sort of program. And obviously everybody would make a lot of money, and you would just get paid for doing well. And if you don't do well, you won't do as well as other people. And your only punishment is you're just not doing well as others. And so there's no one punishing you except yourself. And it basically be based off of just being better than you were the day before, setting projected goals, and a point-based system that you would only take away from if you go against your own goals that you would set for yourself or a professional can help you set. And there's a lot that goes into it, and just kind of want to briefly scrape over the surface of that. And that's essentially kind of it in a nutshell. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I definitely could. And it's getting really hot, and this video's already past 40 minutes. I'm not planning to make it this long. It's supposed to be like 10 minutes. And so that was basically it. I want to make this video, and I'll be consolidating my briefing here soon with some nice chunks of evidence that support my claims, and I'll be filing my lawsuits very soon. I mean, honestly, I was gonna wait to see if the federal agencies do anything about it. I kind of have low confidence in that. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, I mean, they should have questioned me by now. They should have done something by now. There's been a lot of tension on this, and no one said a fucking word to me about it. So to me, I mean, I feel like I should file a case under federal tort laws for a violation of my civil rights. But nonetheless, I still got to go through the steps, submit my briefings to intelligence agencies, and then I'm just going to go from there. So yeah, see you guys later.